Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Baxter Student Ambassador Program webinar. Presenting for us this time is Melissa Long, one of our BSAP finalists from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. So just before we get started, I'd like to quickly introduce some of the people attending today's webinar. We have Morgan Westcott from BCIT and Carol Greenwood from the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario. A representative from WestJet is viewing the webinar as well. Here at Baxter Media, we have Wendy McClung, Emily McClung, Ian Stalker, and I'm Dan McDonald. Now, for everyone viewing today's webinar on the computer, if you have any questions during the presentation, just type them into the Q&A box found in your Zoom toolbar, and those questions will be answered after the presentation has finished. Okay, Melissa, if you'd like to go ahead and share your screen, you can start whenever you're ready.
Can you see it okay over there?
Yes, we can. It's looking good.
All right, so is it okay to begin?
By all means.
Perfect. As mentioned, I'm Melissa Long, and I'm a BCIT student from Burnaby, BC. And today I'm going to be talking about WestJet, Nova Scotia, and in particular Halifax as well. And so on today's agenda, we'll be going over a bit about Nova Scotia, about WestJet, and who to sell to, and how to sell it as well. And we'll begin with Nova Scotia and some key highlights. So it has the world's second largest ice-free harbor. It has North America's oldest running saltwater ferry, and it offers both a historical and adventurous experience to its visitors. And it's also home to 5 UNESCO sites, which we'll be going over a couple of them as well. And so looking at its geography, you can see that it's a part of the Maritimes as well as Atlantic Canada. And then on the right side, we have it broken down into regions. And this is actually how it's broken down off of novascotia.com as well, in case you'd like to go there and find out a little bit more about each region. I'll be going over 4 of those today. And those include the Bay of Fundy and Annapolis Valley, Cape Breton Island, South Shore, and Halifax Metro. And so looking at the Bay of Fundy, it has approximately 160 billion tons of water moving in and out of it every day and twice a day. It has the highest recorded tides in the world according to the Guinness Book of World Records, and guests when they visit can pretty much walk the seafloor at low tides, and the tides can easily be found off of novascotia.com as well. And looking at Annapolis Valley, it is one of Canada's best fruit growing regions. It's a great place to discover the emerging wine industry while enjoying award-winning wines as well. And here to the right are actually photos of Luckett's Winery. It has a phone booth, as you can see right here, which is really cool because you can actually go in there and make phone calls all throughout North America, which it's pretty well known for, and they've actually named a wine after it too, called the Phone Box Red. And as you can see below here, it has a very nice restaurant where you can enjoy the wines as well as inside go shopping and take some home as well. And then we have Cape Breton, which was ranked as one of the top islands in North America by Travel and Leisure magazine. It received recognition in the USA Today's top 10 best motorcycle trips as well. And it's a great place for hiking. And on the right here, we have Skyline Trail, which is a part of Cabot Trail. Beautiful scenery, and then along here you're actually able to see the roadway where you're able to drive, whether it be car or motorcycle. And then we have the South Shore, where there is Lunenburg, and it's home of the Blue Nose 2. It's a famed racing schooner boat currently presented on today's Canadian Dime, as we know. And then there's also Peggy's Cove nearby, which is an active fishing community and potentially the most photographed lighthouse in Canada. And through this photo, you can see why. And then lastly, we have Halifax Metro, which is home to a variety of things, one being Alexander Keith's original 1820 brewery, Halifax Citadel National Historic Site, which you can see in the top right photo, Pier 21, which is a Canadian Museum of Immigration, Halifax Central Library, which actually also won CNN's top 10 eye-popping new buildings in 2014. And they also have the Maritime Museum, which has a lot of Titanic history. And then it, of course, offers a lot of modern shops and restaurants and pubs all throughout. And then looking into WestJet, we're going to be going over their achievements, some of their direct flights throughout Canada during the summer months, the aircraft and class fares, WestJet dollars, what WestJet offers, and then there's also a contest going on. And so looking at the achievements, there's a bit of a timeline. In 2009, the Calgary head office was LEED certified, which provided WestJetters with a healthy, friendly, and dynamic workplace. In 2014, it was the first Canadian airline that released a CSR report adhering to the Global Reporting Initiative's guideline. In 2015, WestJetters across the network performed almost 32,000 mini miracles for WestJet Christmas. And in 2017, most recently, they won Best Airline in Canada by TripAdvisor. And so here's a little video about the mini miracles that they did in 2015. I highly recommend watching it. It's pretty cool to have seen all the great things that they were able to achieve, as well as getting recognition from Ellen herself. And then looking at the direct flights, you can see that they offer them in the summer to and from Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto, Hamilton, Ottawa, Montreal, and then closer by there's Deer Lake, Gander, and St. John's and Sydney in Nova Scotia. They're also planning to do direct flights to London and Paris coming up in the next few months. So it's really great that they're expanding and they're attaching the East Coast along with the rest of Canada and everywhere else as well. And then looking at the aircrafts, there are 3 main aircrafts, but 2 in particular that would most likely be flying into Halifax is the Q400, which is for very short flights. And then generally it would be the Boeing 737 with different series. And as I've heard, they actually have come out with a 1 or 2 new ones being the MAX. And up here you can see the different series. And the only difference realistically is just the capacity. And with the Boeing 737, it offers, or it allows people to book the plus fare, which is really great. It's a great way to upsell and also to cater to those who want things to be convenient and hassle-free, especially when it comes to families and seniors. They're allowed to check in up to 2 bags free. They're allowed to adjust their bookings closer to the date. And there's advanced seat selection and extra leg room, as well as I heard extra arm room, more space in general, and then premium food and beverages as well for those classes. And then looking at WestJet dollars, as we're already aware about, it's quite easy to sign up for them right online off of WestJet's website. And as we all know, it just helps enhance the process to booking faster and as well as for check-in. And so the contest going on is for the top selling travel agents from each province. That's going on from March 1st to the 31st. And it's who can sell the most flights from their base right into Halifax round trip. And the winners will get a 2-week travel package to Nova Scotia plus a guest. And so who to sell to? Although it caters to a lot of different segments, the 3 that I chose that I thought would be the most attracted were young adults, families, and seniors. So young adults, being me myself, that was fortunate I got to go visit a couple years ago. Some key places were Alexander Keith Brewery. It's, as mentioned, it's originated there, and it also has optional tours around the area. There's also a lot of bars, especially with it being a university town, to both Dalhousie and Nescad, a great social place. So right here we have the Stillwell Bar, and an interesting fact is instead of saying cheers, you actually at the table say sociable, which is kind of a cool fact for Nova Scotians. And then they also can have the opportunity to swim with whales. Pilot whales in particular is the one you can see in the photo. And then they have a ton of events that go on throughout the year. One in particular is the Nocturne, which is a art festival that happens at night. And you can see through some of the photos here how it looks. And then looking into families, as mentioned, there's lots of great hiking throughout. We had looked at originally we looked at another hike, but there's also Cape Split, which is interesting because it's based off of the tide as well. So you can see the trail here, and as long as the tide is low enough, you can actually walk out to the very end and be able to take in all the beauty of the ocean that surrounds it. And then also there's a lot of different places to visit, like Lunenburg, where you're able to see the blue nose, and then a bunch of fishing towns where you can enjoy some seafood restaurants, all while looking out at the water and seeing the seafood all be caught. And then there's Peggy's Cove, as mentioned previously as well, where it's a great place to take a lot of photos, and family photos in particular. And then looking at seniors, there's a lot of culture in Nova Scotia. Two in particular is the Acadian and the Gaelic cultures, which are related to the French and the Scottish culture as well. And then there's the Maritime Museum, which has a bunch of Titanic artifacts. And every year there is the Royal Nova Scotia International Tattoo, as you can see here, and the Citadel actually is in the background. And then there are wineries all throughout, and as mentioned, Annapolis Valley is a great area to go visit for that. And then there's just a lot of delicious restaurants and seafood, in particular, lobster bisque, and I would highly recommend visiting New Glasgow for those as well. And so how to sell it? Simply, there are a ton of different areas that you can sell, and it just is based upon what your client is looking for. And so you can always go back on any of those, whether it be the historical side or the adventurous side. And then from our end, we'll be able to provide posters, brochures, and buttons. I heard from travel agents' perspectives that brochures are one of the most handy things that they're able to actually pass along, go coffee table to coffee table, word of mouth, and all that. So I just want to thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
No problem.
So if anyone signed in by computer wants to submit any questions, you can do that to either the chat box or the Q&A box, and I can read them out.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for your great presentation. I was wondering, after you graduate, what would you like to do, and what would you like your career path to be?
So I am in my last year, and we're very fortunate to get practicums for 10 weeks. And so I've actually just landed a practicum at the Hotel Vancouver Fairmont here. And so I'm pretty open. I obviously have a huge passion for the tourism industry. And right now I'm just kind of seeing how it goes and what doors open and all of that.
Great, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Hi, Melissa. It's Ian Stockett. Do you consider Nova Scotia a year-round destination or a summer one?
I would consider it still as year-round. It's obviously a little bit more tricky in the winter, but because there's a lot of scenery, thinking of things like Peggy Cove with a little bit of snow around it is still very picturesque. I think the highlighted season for most places in Canada are summer, but I do feel that with Nova Scotia, you're able to go year round. And I think at one period, if you are at the right area, you can actually see some snow melt, the snow melt down from the Atlantic or the Arctic.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I do believe that's it for questions, but I'd like to thank everybody that signed in on the webinar today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And Melissa, thanks so much for your great presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan.
So on behalf of Baxter Media, I'd like to thank you for participating in the 2018 Baxter Student Ambassador Program, and we shall be in touch.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.